Alright, what's up guys? Today we have a new deck profile featuring Amazonas. They just got all of their new support in Darkwing Blast, the set featured here. Luckily, every single card is a common. This is officially one of the best common decks that you could play. I think the entire deck can be made to be common. I have some hollows in here because I don't own the commons, but most of the deck is now officially common. It's a pretty strong deck. Additionally, I think we're only missing 2 cards, one of which I don't think it's ever going to make it to the TCG. There's a little bit of an issue with the artwork. I think it's going to be it's going to end up being a Lost Art promotion, direct to Lost Art promotion. That is not coming to the TCG, but it's fine because it's not that good. Fortunately, we do have some really good support, and we'll get to it right now. We have 3 copies of Amazonas War Chief. This card is really strong. Basically, if you control no cards on the field, or if all monsters you control are Amazonas, you can special summon this for free. It's a level 5 or higher Amazonas card. That's important for our new extra deck monster, Augusta. And then in addition to that, it's got an effect where you can set an Amazonas card directly from your deck, or a polymerization card directly from your deck. Now the only issue with this card is that some of the Amazonas cards are quick plays, and as we know in Yu-Gi-Oh, you cannot activate a quick play the turn they are set, so that can be a little bit of a problem, but it's fine because it's a free +1 and a free special summon. Next we've got Amazonas Spiritualist. This card, the artwork is no joke. The artwork is pretty serious. We've got she searches polymerization on summon also. Basically what she does is every single turn you can use her effect. If she's in the hand or in your graveyard, you can bounce an Amazonas card and then special summon her to the field. That cost might as well not be a cost, because most of the time you will be bouncing one of the pendulum cards, or you're going to be bouncing the field spell. So if you bounce those, you just reactivate them. It's like nothing ever happened. It's like a Blackwing Zephyros, but it's not once per duel. Very strong card. Yeah, just a very good card there. Next we've got the 2 pendulums. We've got Amazonas Golden Whip and Amazonas Silver Sword. Yeah, both of these are actually pretty good. You only need them at 1. They both have pretty good pendulum effects. You don't need to actually have a pendulum summon in the deck, because there's just no point for that. You're doing too much. But these actually, the pendulum effects are actually quite strong, and the regular effects are pretty strong. So if this card is sent from the monster zone to the is destroyed while in the monster zone, you basically get to put it into your spawn trap card zone. That's pretty cool. They float. And then if this card is in the graveyard and you summon an Amazonas monster, you can put it back in your pendulum zone. So no matter what, you can basically get it into your pendulum zone. Even if you like fuse with it, if you fuse with this card and then summon an Amazonas monster, you trigger this in graveyard to put it right back into your pendulum zone. It's really cool. And then they both have cool pendulum effects. When an Amazonas monster battles, they do 2 different things. This one lets you destroy a spawn trap card in the field when your Amazonas monster battles, and this one lets you target a Amazonas card in your graveyard, bring it back to your hand, spawn trap card in your graveyard. And then on top of that, they both let you gain attack points for every Amazonas monster. Every Amazonas monster you control gains attack points equal to its level. So pretty strong card there. Pretty powerful. Next is Amazonas Princess. This one always counts as queen. A lot of the fusions, well, one of the fusions requires queen, and yeah, it's very strong. It counts as queen. Also on normal summon, it searches, or normal or special summon. This deck has a ton of +1s. It's one of the things that makes the deck really strong. This is a +1 on summon. It's a special summon. The Spiritualist is a +1 on summon, and it's also a special summon. And then this on normal or special summon also lets you search. They're all +1s. It's kind of crazy, but this lets you add any Amazonas card to your hand, which is again pretty strong. One Amazonas baby tiger counts as pet tiger on the field, and it also recurs itself from the graveyard free of charge, which is awesome. 2 Amazonas spy, which I may or may not cut. It basically lets you reveal an Amazonas monster and then special summon itself. I don't think it's actually that necessary anymore. The other ones are better than this card, but sometimes it is good to have this one. It's a decent extender. It puts itself onto the field. I might actually get around to cutting this card. 1 Amazonas Queen. She's one of the strongest. She basically, you summon her for free, and you need her for some of the fusions. When one of the fusions dies, you get to float into her. On top of that, I am playing the fusion deployment, and if you use fusion deployment, you can specifically summon her. Then we've got Amazoness Tiger, which is our other target for fusion deployment. This is a more fusion focused build. I don't really like the combo builds with playing Isolde, a bunch of equips, Flyer Flint Lady. You have to run like 4 bricks. I'd rather run like hand traps and going second cards, stuff like that. I don't want to run a bunch of stupid bricks, so I'd rather play the fusion build. These cards, even if you draw them, they're not dead like the equip spells. You can actually like fuse with them and do Amazoness stuff. We play 1 copy of the field spell, which got a major buff. Number 1, it helps Spiritualist because you can just bounce it to your hand and then activate it again. You can also set this directly from your deck and activate it immediately. And on top of that, one of the new fusions, the Pet Liger King. But this thing allows you to destroy an Amazoness monster and then special summon one from the graveyard, and you can basically destroy something, special summon the one from the graveyard, and then this trigger the field spell and then summon another one from the deck. And for whatever reason, that doesn't miss timing, which is really cool. Then we play 2 of the new fusion spell, which is the Amazoness Secret Arts. It's a quick play that's basically like a regular fusion spell, and then it additionally has a graveyard effect. Yeah, it lets you fusion summon regular Amazoness, but it's a quick play. It's like a polymerization, but a quick play. But its second effect is kind of cool, which is if you banish it from the graveyard, you can, this turn, if you are to fusion summon, you can use a monster from an Amazoness monster from your extra deck as material. So you don't even have to like go through the trouble, for example, of summoning Empress. You can just send Empress to the graveyard as fusion material, and then another Amazoness monster, and you can go straight into Augusta, which is kind of cool. So good card there. The only issue is you can't use both effects in one turn. Next is 3 copies of Amazoness Call. This is another search spell in the deck. A lot of the older archetypes have so many different search spells. It's almost insane. Like there's so much consistency in this deck. It's just like all these decks, they kind of just lack a little bit of power, but the consistency is definitely there. That's why we play certain cards to slow things down. But this one lets you basically quick play, lets you add or search any Amazoness card, monster spell trap, and then on top of that you can send it to the graveyard, or you can add it to your hand, which is crazy. It's like Foolish Burial or Reinforcements of the Army built into one, and on top of that has a graveyard effect where you can banish it same turn you activate the first effect, and then you can make an Amazoness monster attack all monsters your opponent controls this turn, which is crazy because some of them get up to like 4,000 or 5,000 attack. They have piercing, can't be destroyed, but there's so much going on. Yeah, you could just wipe a board in one quick swoop. Next we play 3 copies of the very good card Fusion Deployment. Now this card basically is another card that's incredibly cheap and easy to get now. This basically allows you, it gets reprinted in a structure deck, I believe. This one from the structure deck, I think so. This is another really cheap card. Basically, you can activate this and special summon an Amazoness Queen or Amazoness Tiger directly from your deck or hand, and then you're locked into fusion summoning. Like I said, I'm playing the fusion build. I don't really care. I think the fusion build is more consistent, so it's not a problem for me. Then we play 2 copies of Polymerization. These are both searchable, and then we play 1 copy of Fusion Substitute because it always counts as Polymerization, so you can search it with both of the new cards being the Spiritualist and way at the bottom the War Chief. You can actually search it with both of these monsters, and it has an additional effect that adds to the Polymerization, which is number 1, this can only fuse materials on the field, so not in hand like these two, but you can, if this card's in the graveyard, you can banish it from the graveyard and then shuffle back a fusion monster into your extra deck and draw a card, which is cool. Gives you a recursion and a free card. Then we play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance, which is another really strong card. Because we are playing essentially all fusions, and this is like a super budget deck, this is just better than playing Prosperity. Prosperity is pointless to even play. You just play 3 of every fusion monster and then maybe some staple links, and you're good to go. Really strong. Prosperity is like a pot of greed in this deck. 1 copy of Reinforcements of the Army. The next card is optional. It's Forbidden Droplets. It's very good in the deck because a lot of cards recur themselves for free from the graveyard. So, like, for example, the Pendulums recur themselves, Spiritualist recurs itself, War Chief recurs itself, Tiger recurs itself. So when you send stuff to the graveyard, you're actually not paying any cost whatsoever. You're sending stuff to the graveyard, but like I said, all of these cards, they float anyway, so it's irrelevant. You're really just setting yourself up for a combo if you send them to the graveyard. It doesn't hurt you at all. But if you do not have this card, the best alternative to this card is Super Poly, because Super Poly essentially does the same thing. It helps you go second out your opponent's cards, and it puts a card in the graveyard for yourself. So you like discard Spiritualist, Super Poly their cards, and you have plenty of extra deck space for all of the Super Poly targets. It literally is like a perfect replacement for this. You could even argue it's a better card than this. And since we're locking ourselves into fusion summoning anyway, it literally just doesn't even hurt your deck whatsoever. You could probably even cut a couple cards from the main deck and then include Super Poly in this build to make this version even better. Next is Amazoness Onslaught. This card's kind of crazy. Basically, it lets you summon a Amazoness monster from your hand. On top of that, if your Amazoness monster battles, you can basically banish your opponent's monster that battles it, and then if this face down card is destroyed, it lets you summon an Amazoness monster. It's very good for the grind game, but that's why we play it at 1. 1 is just more than good enough. Usually if this is on the board and you're in a slowdown game state, you're going to win. We play 3 copies of Goes In Match to slow stuff down, because all of our monsters in our main and extra deck are all Earth monsters. So it literally doesn't even matter. You activate this. Most decks just absolutely lose to this. Sprites lose to this. Other decks lose to this. Tier limits, depending on what they put. If they put the water monster on board, they're in for it. Yeah, very, very strong. And then we've got Infinite Permanence, because it is just a very good going first and going second trap card. So we definitely play it, help break boards. The only thing you'd probably need to add to this deck to make it a little more competitive is add an out to Mystic Mine, because you might have a little bit of trouble outing Mystic Mine. But other than that, you can probably cut like a few things. Like you could probably cut this and these two, and you can include like Super Poly or outs to Mystic Mine, make it a little more competitive. But overall, this fusion build is pretty strong. Next for the extra, we play 3 copies of Ice Soul. This is literally, we don't use the whole equip effect. I think that includes too many bricks in your decks. I don't think there's any point to do that. So we just do this just to search a card from our deck, and that's about it. We just put it in graveyard for next turn. Next, we play 3 copies of Liger. This is the older fusions. This one is actually pretty not so great, but it's just good to have in the extra deck just in case you banish the others. But it's just another fusion. It allows you to summon from the... By having this in your extra deck, it allows you to special summon Tiger out onto the board using fusion deployment for free. And then on top of that, it just gains attack when it attacks. It's not that strong. Next, we've got the Amazoness Pet Liger. This is the new Tiger. Basically, all other monsters you control can't be attacked but it. And then on top of that, you can destroy an Amazoness card and then target an Amazoness card in your graveyard and special summon it. This works very well with the field spell, like I said before. Just helps you combo off. And like I said, a lot of these extra deck monsters are really just beaters that are just really high in attack, especially when you get the pendulums, because this is like level, what, like 9 or something? So he gains 900 on top of 29. It's 3,800 attack. The field spell gives another 200. It's 4,000 attack. It's a lot of attack, and the resources aren't that much. It's 2 monster fusion. Next, we've got Amazoness Empress. This card's really good too. All it requires is Amazoness Queen and an Amazoness monster, and it basically makes it so your Amazoness cards, other than this card, can't be destroyed by battle or a card effect. So if you get 2 of them, things are happening. On top of that, when it's destroyed, it can basically float into a free Amazoness Queen, and on top of that, it does piercing whenever any Amazoness card on your side of the field basically does piercing, which is really, really cool when they attack a defense position monster. That effect is really, really good with Amazoness Call. If your opponent has a full like defensive situation, they got like 3 monsters in defense, you just activate that effect, attack all their monsters, and end the game. Next, we've got the new card, which is Amazoness Augusta, which is another really strong card. It's an Amazoness fusion monster and an Amazoness monster, but remember, you can just use the secret arts to send another Amazoness fusion monster to the graveyard and kind of cheat around this entire process. But yeah, that effect is really good. You can just use that effect, banish it, and summon Augusta. This card, if you use Amazoness Empress to summon it, or Queen, this card can attack twice, and it gives all other Amazoness cards protection. But on top of that, it has an effect where if a Amazoness if this is summoned, you can special summon an Amazoness monster from your deck just on summon. That's really good. So it already replaces whatever cost it had for itself. You summon it, and you get to summon a free one. And most of the time, whatever free one you're going to summon is either going to help you search, or set another poly, or do whatever it needs to do. So if you Princess, will get you another free card, and Spiritualist will get you a free card, and War Chief will get you a free card. So this card is just very, very strong. But that is the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Really, really strong budget deck to consider. Very, very fun to play, and have a great day.